Copy direct.
Pastor Wang said that the Philippines now is part of a blacklist of tourist sites because they do not know if the tourists going there will be operating or will be joining POGO operations. And they do not know if their nationals, the Chinese nationals who go to the Philippines, will be safe from illegal activities being done by the triad, by the syndicates operating POGO. They may also be kidnapped, mistaken for POGO operators. So that is the reason why there's been a drop, a significant drop of Chinese tourists.
From the nation's capital, all sides, all the time, I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Gretchen Ho. The big story tonight.
The Chinese government says it may place the Philippines on a so-called tourist blacklist amid concerns about POGO operations in the country.
With this, Senate President Zubiri said lawmakers now have to decide if they will ban POGOs or not. Mayan Los Baños with the big story.
Philippine offshore gaming operators or POGOs have had a series of issues hounding its back. From alleged cases of kidnapping to prostitution, the industry has since faced a downturn. Chinese ambassador to the Philippines Wang Xilian also raised his concern in a meeting with Senate President Zubiri. Gambling is illegal in China and the Chinese government has since appealed for support from other countries to regulate its operations. But with POGOs still operating in the Philippines, China has reportedly included the country in its tourism blacklist.
They do not know if the tourists going there will be operating or will be joining POGO operations. And they do not know if their nationals, the Chinese nationals who go to the Philippines, will be safe from illegal activities being done by the triad.
According to Senator Gatchalian, the blacklist statement only serves as a warning.
Let me qualify, hindi pa ini-implement yan. There's a possibility. No? So, we have to wait for the official pronouncement ng Chinese embassy. But based on our conversation, because ang conversation namin is about POGO, yan ang lumalabas. They might restrict tourists coming here.
According to NEDA and the Chinese government, nearly 2 million Chinese tourists visited the country in 2019. This year, it significantly dropped to around 22,000. Zubiri said lawmakers now have to decide if they will ban POGO operations or not. However, the Association of Service Providers and POGOs appealed to senators to take into account the industry's 61 billion peso contribution to national revenue in the last 6 years. Based on their data, about 23,000 Filipinos working in legitimate POGO companies will also be left jobless if the government shuts down the industry. Meanwhile, the Finance Department is confident that there will be industries that can compensate for the potential revenue loss. Gatchalian remains firm that the country can survive without POGOs. He added that he may recommend the shutdown of POGO operations to President Marcos. Reporting for News 5, Mayan Los Baños, we are One News.
To share his insights about the fate of POGOs in the Philippines, we have with us Senate President Zubiri. He's joining us live via Zoom. Good evening, Senator Migs. Welcome to The Big Story.
Hello, Robbie and Gretchen, at sa lahat ng nanonood po ng Big Story. Good evening po. Magandang gabi po.
Magandang gabi po. Senator, alam na naman nating lahat yung arguments on either side. The industry saying and operators saying they bring in billions of pesos in revenue for us. At the same time, people have been pointing to social ills, social costs, criminality, and so on. Now, this potential cost for tourism, what does this do? Assuming na ituloy ito ng Beijing, what does this do to your analysis of the cost-benefit of the POGO industry?
Alam mo, Robbie, malaki mawawala sa ating bansa if we're blacklisted. I'm not saying that we're blacklisted now, but because they're still closed in terms of travel in China. But there is a big possibility, according to the ambassador, kasama ko po siya kahapon sa Senado at sinabi niya, na malaking posibilidad ma-blacklist ang Pilipinas kung tuloy-tuloy ang pagdadami ng POGO dito sa ating bansa for two reasons. Number one, according to the ambassador, it is an illegal activity, totally banned in China. number one. Number two, they were also worried about the security of the Chinese nationals that will visit the countries that have POGO. Kasi sabi nga nila, their experience in Cambodia, experience nila sa ibang bansa na nag-host ng POGO operations, napakaraming mga sindikato, yung mga triads, yung nagkikidnap ng mainland Chinese at talagang hino-hostage pa. So, natatakot sila para sa kanilang mga citizens. So they're very afraid of their citizens at this particular point in time. So yes, Robbie, Gretchen, it is a bigger loss for the country if we lose the tourism potential of China. Remember, in 2019, 2 million Chinese had visited the Philippines. Ang laki ng revenue income stream niyan. And then, in Thailand, of the same time, ang sabi pa nga ng ambassador sa amin, remember, in 2019, we had 10 million, 10 milyon ang pumunta sa Thailand in 2019. Imagine if those 10 million tourists ang bibisita dito sa atin, ang MSMEs natin for tourism industry, it will just grow leaps and bounds. The hotel industry, the food industry, all the resorts, all the entertainment, of course, the entertainers that entertain our tourists in these areas where we have tourist spots. Talagang mawawala yan. Pag na-blacklist po tayo and manatili pong 22,000 lang ang Chinese na papasok taon-taon, ay talagang napakakawawa naman ng ating tourism sector. So, and you have to remember that they are 1.5 billion Chinese. So imagine kung ilang porsyento lang ang bumisita sa ating bansa, ay talaga napakasayang ng investment opportunities. And Robbie, I just want to add that speaking to the Bureau of Immigration together with the DOJ, dahil nga itong fenomeno ng POGO, nagkakaroon po ng mga missing in action, naman TNT, tago ng tago ng mga Chinese nationals na pumapasok po sila sa bansa bilang turista, tapos hindi mo na makikita, nandun na pala sa POGO nagtatrabaho. Ang sabi sa amin ng Bureau of Immigrations, they suspended the visa upon arrival of mainland Chinese. Kasi kaya nga, dahil dyan, noon na pumapasok sila sa POGO. This visa upon arrival is given to Thailand. It used to be given by the Philippines before the POGO industry lumaki at lumobo dito sa ating bansa. It's given to other countries like Malaysia and other countries that don't host POGO. Kaya okay lang magbigay po ng visa upon arrival. Then, hindi naman po tayo matatakot na magti-TNT ito, magtago ng tago ito mga bisita ito.
Senator,
but because they're doing illegal activities, we had to stop that. And that's why the drop in increase of Chinese tourists has also gone down dramatically.
Senator, just looking at the other side of this, we're talking about what this says about the POGO operations, what China sees in the POGO operations, what we see in the POGO operations. But with China itself saying that you cannot even guarantee that something that we're banning can be somehow restricted and controlled in your border. You cannot even guarantee that you can keep track of our citizens once they're there. You cannot even guarantee that you can protect our citizens from our own citizens. What does this say, not about POGO, but about our country?
Well, that's why I'm with my chief of staff. She was right beside me this whole time when we were with the ambassador. And that was the concern of the ambassador. How would it look in the foreign international community, about things like that happening here? It will give us a black eye. And remember, Robbie, this is a total ban in China. Ang sabi nila, this is illegal, Mr. Senate President. Illegal po to sa amin. So, ang dating po ng mensahe ng Chinese ambassador sa akin is like, my question is, as far as I'm concerned, this is not coming from the Chinese ambassador, but as far as I'm concerned, parang we are hosting, aiding, and abetting an illegal activity in another country. Can you imagine? Kasi illegal nga po siya, pero tayo ang tumutulong at nagsusulsol nitong illegal activity para sa ibang bansa na napaka unfortunate at galit na galit nga. It's a ticklish issue between, I believe we also talked about that it was also a ticklish issue in the last administration, because I was told by the ambassador that President Xi Jinping had asked the former president nga to stop POGO in the country. And I think it will also be asked if there are going to be bilateral talks between our president and Xi Jinping. So this is now going to be a foreign relations problem, Robbie, no? Sa tingin ko, malaking mawawala sa atin pag tinuloy po natin ito in terms of tourism, of course, in terms of the perception of the public, pagdating po nito mga sindikato operating within our shores, baka sabihin hindi po safe dito sa atin. So, if you ask me, the overall sum is lugi ang bansa. Itong sinasabi po nilang mawawala pong trabaho itong mga service providers. They say there's about, and if I'm looking at the list right here, they said directly hired by POGO is about 10,000 and indirect hiring is about 11,000. Doon sa direct hiring, Robbie, yun yung mga security guards, mga drivers nila, yung mga cooks, yung mga assistants. Pwede naman natin hanapin na itong mga trabaho, na itong mga kababayan natin na trabaho, pag mabuhay muli ang tourism industry. Why don't we focus on the BPO sector? Malaking nawala sa atin sa BPO sector. We're losing to India and we're losing to other countries in the region. Why don't we get it back? We were number one once upon a time. Itulak na lang natin yung BPO at tourism industries. Pangalawa, yung sinasabi nilang mawawala sa ating real estate sector, ang katotohanan yan, Robbie, the POGO industry has also aided and abetted our inflation in terms of housing units. Ang dami-dami pong nating mga kababayan hindi na maka-afford ng one-bedroom condo, ng studio, lalo na kung galing sa probinsya, magtatrabaho sa Metro Manila, ay maghahanap po sila ng matirahan. Napakamahal dahil yung POGO daw, ang ino-offer ay ×2. So that is inflationary in terms of the price increase on the cost of living.
Okay.
All right, maraming salamat po. That was Senate President Migs Zubiri on the ban on POGOs. Right
Thank you very
after
much.
the
Thank
break,
you.
we'll talk more about the recently enacted SIM card registration law. That and more when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
US-based colleagues have been awarded the Nobel Prize in Economics for their research into banking and financial crises. Douglas Diamond, Philip Dybvig and Bernanke will share their $885,000 award. By honouring Bernanke, the prize committee took the fairly unusual step of recognising an actual practitioner of economic policy. Global news, 24 hours a day on air and on Bloomberg Quick Take, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Vonnie Quinn. This is Bloomberg.
You're watching The Big Story here on One News. President Bongbong Marcos has signed a law requiring all SIM cards to be registered, a move that is meant to curb text scams and other crimes, but does also raise privacy concerns. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez gives us a front seat to the story.
Text spam and scam messages may soon be a thing of the past once the law mandating the registration of SIM cards takes effect. On Monday, the SIM Card Registration Act became the first law to be signed by President Bongbong Marcos. According to Senator Grace Poe, existing postpaid and prepaid mobile phone subscribers will have to register their SIM cards within 180 days or 6 months from the effectivity of the law.
Pag yan ay tuluyan na talagang naging batas, no, yung mga telco, kailangan na silang kumilos para iparehistro ang ating mga kababayan.
Poe added that registration of SIM cards will not be a hassle for Filipinos, as this can be done online. For those on the less techy side, individuals may register their SIM cards in official stores. While many say that the law is the key to solving scam messages, one privacy expert begs to disagree.
If you will really think about it, this policy will do nothing in terms of identifying saan ba nanggaling yung mga pangalan natin, yung information natin. Because there is nothing in the law, in the policy, that will help solve that.
Senator Poe, on the other hand, said that only telcos should be the one handling the registration.
Kasi nga, pinag-iingatan natin yung inyong impormasyon. Kung napakaraming nakakakuha niyan, ay talagang mahihirapan tayong tuntunin kung sino nagkaroon ng data breach.
Poe has since asked telcos to submit their verified list of subscribers to the National Telecommunications Commission. Individuals are not limited to the number of SIM cards they can have, as long as these are registered under their name. A SIM card may also be registered for use by a minor but should be under the name of a parent or a guardian. Violators, meanwhile, could be fined from 100,000 pesos to 4 million pesos. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez, we are One News.
After the break, we'll get more updates on Tropical Depression Maymay with Pag-asa weather forecaster Obet Madrina. That and more when The Big Story returns. Keep it here on One News.
Table, order your food, clean up your own dishes, plus check out. And done. Third, taking risks. At a time when Japan's restaurant industry suffered the most store closures among all sectors, Kura Sushi expanded. Even with price hikes, it reported operating loss for 2 straight years, but still opened 80 new stores domestically since 2019. Kurasushi hopes all of these efforts lead to a mouth-watering success.
Federal Reserve Vice Chair Lael Brainard laid out a case for exercising caution as the central bank raises interest. Brainard spoke to the National Association of Business Economics in Chicago.
In light of elevated global economic and financial uncertainty, moving forward deliberately and in a data-dependent manner will enable us to learn how economic activity, employment, and inflation are adjusting to the cumulative tightening in order to inform our assessment of the path of the policy rate.
Brainard also notes that previous increases are still working through the economy. In California, the state announced new guidelines for real estate proposals to protect against wildfires. Attorney General Bob Bonta called new guidance a protective tool that will help municipalities and developers mitigate fire risk and avoid lawsuits. 8 of the 10 largest wildfires in California history have occurred in the last 10 years. In Los Angeles, the president of the city council is giving up that title after audio was leaked of her spewing racist remarks. Nuri Martinez had directed her slur at a fellow council member's black son, sparking a public outcry. It appears she will remain a member of the council. The richest Russian in Silicon Valley says he's renounced his Russian citizenship. On his website, Yuri Milner said he completed the process in August. The Bloomberg Billionaires Index estimates Milner's wealth at about $3.5 billion.
You're still watching the big story here on One News. Signal number 1 is currently raised over some parts of Luzon due to tropical depression Maymay.
Let's get the latest on Maymay with Pag-asa weather specialist Robert Badrina joining us live via Zoom. Magandang gabi po.
Magandang gabi po sa lahat ng mga tagapanood po natin. So currently nga itong bagyong Maymay, which developed it developed yesterday and around 12 midnight. Huli natin siyang namataan na sa layong 265 kilometers east of Kasiguran, dito naman sa lalawigan ng Aurora. Taglayin niyo yung pinakamalakas pa rin na hangin, maabot ng around 45 kilometers per hour. Malapit sa gitna at pagbugso naman na nasa 55 kilometers per hour. Ito ay almost stationary. Although we're expecting this particular tropical depression will make a landfall around sa area ng Aurora, possible by tomorrow, evening. Or madaling araw ng Huwebes. Based sa ating latest track, most probably malaki yung chance po na itong bagyong Maymay ay maging isang low pressure area na lamang kasi actually sa ngayon medyo mahina siya. So pag tumama na siya dito sa kalupaan ng Central Luzon, most probably maaaring humina pa ito further and mag-weaken siya into a low pressure area. Ngayon pa ba nakataas pa rin yung signal number 1, particularly dito sa May Isabela, Quirino, Nueva Vizcaya, Aurora, Nueva Ecija, and dun sa may extreme northern portion ng Quezon, kasama dyan yung Polillo Island. So sa mga lugar po na yun, pwede tayong makaranas sa mga pagbugso ng hangin at mga pag-ulan. No? Although sa nakikita ho natin, ang concentration ng mga ulan natin ngayon nasa may northern Luzon. So that's the area of Cagayan, Isabela, Cordillera area. So expect po natin na maging maulan sa bahagi ng northern Luzon. May nakataas nung pala tayong gale warning ngayon. Ito yung babala natin para sa mga naglalayag, lalong-lalo na doon sa mga maliliit na sasakyang pandagat at maliliit na mga bangka. Medyo delikado na pumalaot, particularly in the seaboards of Northern Luzon and also in the eastern seaboards of Central and Southern Luzon. So medyo wag mo nang lumabas o pumalaot yung mga kababayan natin sa lugar niyo.
Sir, ito po ba ay parte na ng amihan season at ano po ba yung mga dapat natin bantayan? Sinasabi niyo po ba na pahina na at yan na po yung trajectory niya for the next coming days?
Yes, so medyo certain na tayo, Miss Gretchen, dito sa magiging track niya. Actually, papunta na rin talaga tayo dito sa amihan season. No? Kasi the past years, normally nag-start yung, kasi nag-terminate lang tayo ng southwest monsoon last week. And nasa ngayon, tinatawag natin na sa transition period tayo. Pero makikita din natin dito sa pinapakita ninyo na pinapakita natin ng mga images. Ayun, makikita yung arrow no, from northeast. So lumalakas na rin talaga itong northeasterly wind flow. So we're expecting the past 5 years kasi around mga last week of October up to first week ng November nagsisimula itong amihan. So actually papunta na tayo doon.
Okay, maraming salamat po. That was Pag-asa weather forecaster Robert Badrina.
We're down to our last 75 days before Christmas. Now, by now, travelers are already heading to the annual Christmas village of the Baguio Country Club to get an earlier taste of the holidays. This year's theme, Oriental Winter Wonderland. Laila Panghilinan with the story.
The Baguio Country Club opens its doors to the public for their annual BCC Christmas Village. This year's theme is Oriental Winter Wonderland, where visitors can experience the landscapes of Japan and Korea.
It's mostly very colorful flowers, and then meron tayong mga miniature setup of parks in every corner. They'll enjoy it with the family.
Aside from the wondrous sights, one will also surely enjoy the taste of Korea and Japan through food stalls available in the Christmas village. Completing the Oriental look are anime characters and geishas, along with this very Pinoy-like nativity scene, as well as an Oriental version of Santa and Mrs. Claus. And what's a Christmas village without any snow? The closest we can get to the real thing is this fine foam from 4 snow-making machines.
Artificial snow, but everybody looks forward to that. We'll be expecting a lot of people to start coming up to Baguio.
Getting inside the Christmas village won't hurt your pockets. Entrance fees range from 90 pesos to 125 pesos for adults, depending on your time of visit. There are also cheaper fees for kids and senior citizens, while toddlers, persons with disabilities, and country club members can visit the place for free. And because COVID-19 is still in the air, vaccination cards are still required before entry. A mask-on policy inside the Christmas village is also in effect.
Although meron ng proclamation that you can wear your mask as an option if you're outdoor, of course, as far as we're concerned, that is a minimum requirement. We can also establish higher standards. So in our case, we would still require face mask.
The Oriental Winter Wonderland Christmas Village is open from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day until January 8, 2023. For News 5, Laila Pangilinan, we are One News.
It's good to see Christmas kicking off. Bigyan kwento ko lang kasi it's nice to feel a tinge of the Christmas spirit through all the difficult news that we go through.
Yes, that's right. Notwithstanding what I was telling you, sa amin kasi, syempre, undas pa rin. It's bare months, gusto ko lang dumating doon, pero undas. But, you know, the fact that it's all about getting together with family again, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Huwag natin kalimutan na may Halloween pa.
And that's the big story tonight. For more updates, follow News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World Online. You may also log on to onenews.ph for more analysis. I'm Robbie Alampay.
The big story is also available via Signal Play app. Make a free account now at signalplay.com and stream One News anytime, anywhere. I'm Gretchen Hall. Stay safe, Philippines.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.